He said, I believe he hung himself in a cell. Are you shitting me? Are you shitting me? Am I the only one who's beyond livid? That's my first time seeing that. Am I the only one? Am I the only one who says that's a different person from the Kash Patel who appeared on Nick DiPaolo's show? That's a different person, the guy who appeared before Glenn Beck. Let's grade the DOJ. Look, this is something, there have been some developments here with the DOJ. And you know where we covered all the confirmation hearings for, there was one notable exception, Pam Bondi. Take a guess why. But Pete Hegseth, we covered it. DOD, Marco Rubio, State Department. That one we covered briefly. It went through pretty quickly.
Yeah.
RFK, right? HHS. It's been, pretty solid. Doesn't mean you agree with everyone there. We never covered Pam Bondi, and there's a reason for that. And I've always tried, when you have inside baseball, if it's not my place, I try to not get into it, but just comment on what is publicly available and tell you why I may be hesitant or may be distrustful. And we have been doing this for a long time before we get to this DOJ report card. With Pam Bondi, it's not new. Because I have my reservations about Pam Bondi, and that is not to say that she is not doing her best job. That is not to say that I know definitively, but I saw some things that gave me pause. It's not to say that I dislike AG Bondi. That's not what I'm saying. But there's a distinct lack of organization or a lack of concern, for being honest. Pam Bondi seems to be more interested in the limelight than in doing the job. So since becoming AG, she's made at least 7 appearances on Fox News, like the ones that you just saw. Let's compare that to Kash Patel. I believe that Kash Patel, some people thought he would be like a dog chasing a car, wouldn't know what he would do when he caught it. No. I believe that this guy eats, sleeps, and breathes deconstructing the FBI and reforming it. I'm not seeing that from Pam Bondi. And we haven't been seeing that these last couple of weeks. And I'll be honest, we're not seeing enough of that from Kash Patel. So I hope things are going on behind the scenes. And I know, so tell me where you guys line up if you think, okay, these folks deserve more time and we can't have unrealistic expectations. I understand that argument. But I will also say this. We're going to go through the good, and there has been a lot of good, and we're going to go through the bad. But it's a real problem when you campaign on the reason that you have this job. And I know these people are appointed, but they did campaign. They were all appearing on different shows saying, hey, we are going to fundamentally dismantle and root out the corruption of these 3-letter agencies because faith in them is at an all-time low, right? That's why these people were put in. Nothing really seems to happen on that front, but then you're saying, hey, look, these agencies, there's a drug bust. They're doing exactly what they have been doing this whole time. Sure, that's good too, but that's not what you said you were going to do. The primary reason that people supported you and that you're in there was to actually deal with the corruption of the agency itself.
Right.
And whether you think they need more time, yes, but it's bad optics to go out, act like none of that happened, and be like, isn't this good? Look, the FBI is doing what the FBI does. It's like, yeah, we want you to stop what the FBI does and start, in other words, don't look out with the FBI. Your job was to go, FBI! Your job was not to go, hey, DOJ, your job was to go, I see you, DOJ, and we're not seeing that. That's my frustration. I think that's most of you. Let's go through the good first, though, because I don't want to be a pessimist. So it's good. 205 child sex offenders were arrested over a 5-day bust, and that included school leaders, some members of law enforcement, already registered sex offenders.
That should be the first one.
Yeah, I almost...
in D.C., too.
What?
Said it was only in D.C., too. Who knew?
Only in D.C. I would have, just to be clear, and I'm no professional, I would have started by looking at the currently registered sex offenders.
Yes.
That would have been my first place to look. There was the largest fentanyl bust in DEA history.
There you go.
Okay.
Good job.
400 kilograms. That's like 200 million lethal doses, if you add it up. This administration, they've been going after some criminal judges. That's a good thing. You had Luis Cano, right, who hid the TDA gang members I believe, in their home. This person destroyed a gang member's phone to cover evidence. There's the judge, Hannah Dugan, remember, helped that illegal sneak out of the courtroom to avoid ICE and made a big show of it. So that's good. though neither of these cases would seem relevant if you lived in what the mainstream news media has been referring to. Remember food deserts? Now they say that in 2025, there are still people who don't have access to smartphones. So they refer to them as not food deserts, but news deserts, and they've been remedying it with their own town crier.
News to the desert! News to the desert! Multiple MS-13 members have set bodies on fire in the New York subway and copulated with the corpses. But this has nothing to do with illegal immigration as a whole, so saith MSNBC. Though authorities suspect MS-13 due to the spray paint that says MS-13 did this, so saith the Senate.
Well, that one seemed good. So you heard me say, like, are you doing what you're not supposed to be looking out with these departments, you're supposed to be looking in. Just let's take their words for it. What did people like Bondi and Patel, and I will say I separate Bondi from the rest of them because of the bungles, I guess, to use a term that have taken place with Bondi. But hey, why are they in office? What kind of promises did they make?
I will fight every day to restore confidence and integrity to the Department of Justice and each of its components.
I'd shut down the FBI Hoover building on day one and reopening the next day as a museum of the deep state.
Are we going to fix it? Absolutely. Is it going to take a while? Not as long as people think.
Well, that's under direct control of the director of the FBI. Just like the manifesto from the Nashville school shooting of the Catholic school. Yeah. We still haven't seen that, right? On day one, roll out the black book. And not just that. On day one, roll out all of the text messaging communications we were told were deleted. On day one, play the rest of the video of the pipe bomber.
That all sounded great.
It did.
That's why people supported you.
Day one.
Which brings us to the bad, okay? And we do have a new clip, which we'll run a little bit later. Where's the accountability for the lawfare?
Yeah.
Right? So on February 5th, Bondi established the Weaponization Working Group to investigate those behind the Donald Trump lawfare. That was a big deal, right? The lawfare, the vilifying him as a criminal, the going after him to try and render the people's president ineligible, which you can judge a country by the level of corruption in their institutions. That's really what separates us from banana republics and third world nations. And this was the worst corruption that we have absolutely seen in our lifetime. So this was created. You can check the references. Link in the description as every show. 3 months later, no update at all. So the drug bust, hey, that's great. But is that what you were hoping for? Or were you hoping for someone to get to the bottom of the lawfare against the man who you chose as president? What about January 6th? We still don't know anything about the FBI instigators in the crowd. Who was Ray Epps? Is there any accountability, restitution for the prisoners, some of whom were locked up for years for nothing more than trespassing? Where are the, and I'm not just saying arrest all of them, put them all, no. What I'm saying is, hey, if Joe Biden's administration had arrested around 500 people just surrounding the January 6th events alone, which we now know were largely a lie, this is where it would be appropriate to say what Illinois. Some people did some things, but hundreds of thousands of people were peaceful, and even many of the people who were arrested committed no felonies at all. They were invited on a walking tour. Remember QAnon Shaman? His sin was saying yes to the invite and wearing a funny hat. 500 arrests. And now our people? Zero? Then the Epstein. Well, that was kind of a big deal, right? Yeah. Day one. It'd be different if you were told, like, eventually. You were told day one. If they say, like, yeah, but it takes time. It's like, but you said day one. Yeah, but, we're still kind of, it's like, you said day one. Like 50 times.
Yes.
So we're more than 2 months out now. Remember from when AG Bondi hung some influencers out to dry? Some people didn't know. Here, like we talked about libs of TikTok, and then there were some influencers who were all too happy to try and pull the wool over your eyes with the Epstein binders that included less information than was already publicly available. Yeah, and then you open it up and it's like, he had a plane. No shit.
Yes.
Oh, thanks.
Gotcha, bitch.
It's just Dave Chappelle's face.
And now there was an update from Bondi yesterday, who I believe now it's in the dozens, if not over 100 appearances on Fox News. Before you watch this clip from yesterday, it is alarming as to just how much Pam Bondi's looking more and more like Michael Jackson. It's that like skull face nose.
Yeah, dude. Oh my gosh. Pam Bondi. Nice.
So here she is yesterday attempting to explain with different reasoning what she said with that binder rollout 2 months ago. Here's some kind of, I guess it's an explanation. Just watch.
James Comer said yesterday that all the Epstein files are missing. Can you confirm the status of them? We still haven't heard from you.
No, the FBI, they're reviewing, there are tens of thousands of videos of Epstein with children or child porn. And there are hundreds of victims. And no one victim will ever get released. It's just the volume, and that's what they're going through right now. The FBI is diligently going through that. I haven't seen that statement, but I'll call him later and find out.
For context, it's at least one. You guys let me know. I believe it's two. Since that abysmal rollout on Epstein to today, one or two people involved, victims, have since died. Suicide or something.
Right.
You know, brakes went out in the car. Something like that.
Narrowly escaped suicide just to be.
Yeah, just to
That
be
happens
suicided.
to acquaintances of the Clintons, it seems.
Yeah, so
Allegedly.
So two people have died
Yeah.
since that bad rollout. In other words, this isn't just something as far as knowing, you know, for posterity's sake, but there's still. Do you honestly think that everyone involved with the, according to her, hundreds of sex slaves at Epstein Island, by the way, connected to many politically elite, including royalty, you think that everyone involved in facilitating the child sex trafficking has since straightened up and decided to fly right?
No.
They're still out there.
Oh, they're sick. They're addicted.
Yeah, they're still out there.
And Pam Bondi didn't just say this in her confirmation hearing. She didn't just say on day one in confirmation. She went on Fox News and said tomorrow. And then what we got tomorrow was the binders full of information that everybody already had, and in some cases less information because they redacted some stuff that was publicly available already.
Yeah.
And then said, I'm demanding that the FBI bring this all to my Kash Patel. You have to bring me all this stuff the next day after that because of such backlash. And then radio silence. Pam, I understand. With respect, AG Bondi, I understand that there's a lot of information for them to go through. Certainly they can go through some and release it, right? Certainly they can do it in chunks. They can say, hey, we've had 2 months. Here's at least 1 page of information that we can release that we've gone through to make sure nobody is harmed that's a victim in this case, and no child pornography is being distributed by the FBI because we keep that on their computers apparently, right? Can't 1 page be out?
You know, let me just, I'm going to make a statement here that I'm sure will piss a lot of people off. And by the way, it's the reason that many of these folks don't appear on the show. Many people who would seem like natural fits. To be fair, I would never sandbag anybody. And I, of course, support a lot of these folks, and I'm happy, and I would love to give them a platform, you know, the only platform that has as many of you watching live in existence. But you don't get that. You don't get access if you call balls and strikes. Someone like an AG Pam Bondi is worse, in my opinion, is worse for the conservative right-wing movement than anything the left could concoct. You guys understand that? That's my opinion. The enemy is from within. Just think about fighting. It's like, you ever do that when you were a kid where you jump off the diving board or you jump off in the deep end and you see if you can swim the length of the pool, right, holding your breath? We always used to do that as a kid. One time I did that, and there was another guy who thought it was funny. I might have been 8 or 9 years old. I made it for the first time from the deep end. It was a local public pool. All the way to the shallow end. It could barely, and came up, and he thought it was funny to dunk my head under so I couldn't come up. It's one of the times where I was like, oh, this is how I go. I'm going to die. Thankfully, his older brother beat his ass in front of me. That's how that story ends. That's what this is like. You fought. You went through 2020. Right here, we were suspended. We were demonetized, Diageo, 80% of the world's advertising said, hey, we're not actually going to advertise on Rumble unless you remove Stephen Crowder. And you guys, right? You went out, you canvassed, you felt like something was stolen from you. You went through COVID and you said, we're not going to let that happen again. You flipped all the swing states, all the bellwether counties. Think of all the work that you put in. And now you're coming up for air because you put these people in office and they're dunking your head back under. Look at the drug busts. That's not what we voted for. It's important to me because I had the candidates I did have on. I said, if you will not dismantle or at the very least fundamentally restructure in short order our 3-letter agencies, that for me is a close-handed issue and you won't get my vote. Because there were Republicans in the primaries who were saying, and think about that too, you chose Donald Trump in no small part because during the primaries, many Republicans, in case you've forgotten, said, well, we need people to trust our institutions. We don't want to completely, most people are doing great work at the FBI and our DOJ and CIA. And you said, bullshit. I want someone who's going to do something about it. That's what, and I want the guy who was persecuted through political lawfare. I want him in. So not retribution, so there can be justice, so that we don't become a banana republic. That was a big issue, right? The biggest issue nationally was immigration, the economy. But you comment below. If you're an actual conservative, if that wasn't the top issue, it was top 3. You fought, you scraped, you clawed, you held your breath, and you went all in, and someone's dunking your head back under. That to me is more damaging to what because where's the hope? You want to go through all that again? If you think it's another Bondi? So yeah, we're not going to have a lot of these people in the inner circle as guests because them's fighting words. I'm fine with it. Report card, I give Bondi an F. Everyone else I give a, remains to be seen. And we also have a new clip, by the way. I guess this is
Kash Patel talking to Senator Kennedy, right? And talking specifically about the Epstein files.
This is today?
I believe it's today.
This is from today, yes.
Okay.
Did Jeffrey Epstein hang himself or did somebody kill him?
Senator, I believe he hung himself in a cell in the Metropolitan Detention Center.
Are you going to release all the information about that?
Senator, we are working through that right now with the Department of Justice.
When do you think you'll have it done, Kash?
I think in the near future, sir.
Wow.
What? Like before I die?
Senator, we've been working on that, and we're doing it in a way that protects victims and also doesn't put out into the ether information that is irrelevant for production of the public, such as CSAM.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Quick mission control. Get to me. I guarantee you it won't take you long. I can't do it right now. That Kash Patel at one point made it clear he did not believe that Epstein killed himself. Get that for me here, and we can run that. Hey, what changed? Enlightenment? Hey, if that's the case, you have to believe that the FBI is so beyond any type of corruptibility that they educated Kash Patel. That now, hey, it's very clear Epstein killed himself, or something's off. People are being compromised. It's one thing to say it takes time. It's another for the guy saying, going to turn it into a museum, to say, no, the main talking point that the majority of Americans, Democrats and Republicans, do not believe, yeah, that's still the talking point. He hung himself. No foul play. Has nothing to do with the length of time. If he said, if his only answer there, sorry, now I'm done with this guy. If his only answer there was, hey, you know what? I have to be very careful with the information, especially in today's news climate, to make sure that we aim once and aim right, but we are going to be releasing all of this, and the answer will leave no doubt. I just can't give that to you right now because of some sensitivities. Hey, got it, it takes time. He didn't say that. He said, I believe he hung himself in a cell. Are you shitting me? Are you shitting me? Am I the only one who's beyond livid? That's my first time seeing that. Am I the only one? Am I the only one who says that's a different person from the Kash Patel who appeared on Nick DiPaolo's show? That's a different person, the guy who appeared before Glenn Beck. That is a different man. Why? Why? And just to be clear, leftist media, those of you watching right now, they will say, oh, see, here you go. Conservatives not willing to accept the truth. That's why they're more damaging. Because they're allowing the left to set the narrative. Do you think you're crazy? Do you think you're crazy because you don't believe that Jeffrey Epstein hung himself in a cell?
The left doesn't believe that.
The left doesn't believe it. But the left will make you out to be crazy. They'll make you out to be an extremist. And you know what they will use as Exhibit A? Even Kash Patel knows how crazy it is.
That's one thing that the country came together on.
Yeah.
That's one thing everyone goes, yeah, there's no way he killed himself. He was killed. Why don't you trust your institutions?
Not Patel. He breaks ranks with you on that. Man who's the head of the FBI thinks you're nuts. If you believe that Jeffrey Epstein didn't kill himself, or at least you weren't given the whole story. He just said, no, the whole story's legitimate. Kash Patel, your guy, is he still your guy? He's not my guy. Not my guy. Not after that. Mr. Patel, but you are welcome to come on this show. Just come on this show for what it is. I bet you won't. Oh, you're still here watching this on YouTube? There's no more. It's over. Just like YouTube. YouTube is over. It's not a thing anymore. How many Seth Meyers clips do you need? Head on over to Rumble. Follow me there. Live on weekdays at 11 a.m. Eastern, where we can actually speak freely and don't have to self-censor. YouTube it's really not a thing. Like, you ever seen one of those towns that maybe was like a mining town, or maybe they made some kind of alloy? You say, hey, I wonder what they did in this town. It takes a while to find a person who can tell you what they did in that town, and even then you don't fully understand it. That's YouTube. YouTube is that town. So go to Rumble.